Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming here. Our daily study on the Srimad Bhagavatam, hosted by Bihari Lal and Sons. Affectionately, he's earned a new title with the baby boy on the way, so he's now Bihari Lal and Sons. Happy Father's Day, Bihari Lal.
Bihari Lal and Sons at service. Hare Krishna.
And happy Father's Day for Adi Purusha Prabhu, who's taken all of New York City as his children. He's decided to make sure everyone in New York City is fed, and he's been doing this for 26 years. Yesterday, some of you may not know, yesterday we had a wonderful program at the Serenity Retreat, Serenity Retreats, which was put together by Domi and Genevieve Priti. They've been working for 2 months on renovating this. We're trying to get Krishna conscious bhakti to be beaming out of every zip code of New York City. So they made this really, really beautiful center, and they had very, very nice program by Jaini Tai. He did a yagya. You felt like you were in Mayapur or like in some big temple where everything was like really, really perfectly done. So we had this nice ceremony. We had kirtan with Mani Manjari, Prema Mani. We had Abhishek, Gornitai installation, name-giving ceremony of the deities, wonderful feast. It was a great program. So I ask for your blessings and prayers, so maybe I can say something. And also maybe I can be a good father, because today is Father's Day. So give me your blessings and prayers. So we're reading from the 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 63. This is the fight between Lord Shiva and Krishna during the Banasura pastime. And we are on text 23 and 24. But today is the disappearance day of Baladeva Vidyābhūṣaṇa. So I would like to say something about Baladeva Vidyābhūṣaṇa. And so we'll start there. Ata Narayano Deva Tam Dishva Vyajichatvaram Maheshwara Vaishnavamscha Yudyate Jvara Ubo. Seeing this personified weapon approach, Lord Narayan then released his own personified fever weapon, Vishnu Jwara, and the Shiva Jwara and Vishnu Jwara thus battled each other. Text number 24. Maheshwara Samakrandan Vaishnavena Balarditaha Alabdva Bhayam Anyatra Bhito Maheshwaro Jwara Charanarti Hrishikesham Tushtatava Prayata Anjalihi. The Shiva Dwara was overwhelmed by the strength of the Vishnu Dwara, cried out in pain, but finding no refuge, frightened, the Shiva Dwara approached Lord Krishna, the master of the senses, hoping to attain his shelter. Thus, with joined palms, he began to praise the Lord. As pointed out, this is the purport. This is all the purport we got. So we're going to go, that's why we got a lot of time for Baladeva Vidyābhūṣaṇa. As pointed out by Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, it is significant that the Shiva Dwara had to leave the side of his master, Lord Shiva, and directly take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. So in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the second chapter, the questions, there's a section where they begin to start answering the questions that were given. There are 6 questions that are given in the first chapter of the Bhagavatam. And so this chapter, it flows like this. The chapter is called, anybody know the name of second chapter of the Bhagavatam, first canto? Divinity and Divine Service. And taking inspiration from S.B. Keshava Swami, I was able to put together an acronym that shows the flow of the chapter. just like how he did for every single chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. We put together, it was not easy, but we're able to put a acronym that shows the flow of the second chapter. So the acronym is DIVINE, D-I-V-I-N-E. So the first 5 verses of the first chapter, first canto, second chapter, is they're dignifying, glorifying the questions, the sages, Sukadeva Goswami. And then comes 2 main verses, which are answering the 2 first questions of the Bhagavatam. Savai pum samparo dharmo yato bhaktir hokshaje ahaitakiya pratihata yatma suprasidati vasudevi bhagavati bhakti yoga prayojitaha janati ashu vairagyam jnanam cha yad ahaitakam. So that's inquiry's answer. The D-I-V. V is, the question is, what is that thing that has the greatest value? What is the most important thing? And so that's answered in the question, but then it's expounded on the verses that follow. So that V is what is of value. And so in this chapter, they describe in that section how bhakti is, of all forms of religious practice, bhakti is the highest. Dharma shunushtita pumsa vikshaksena kata suyat notpadiyat yadiratim shama eva hi kevalam. If you're doing anything religious, you're doing anything dharmic, and it's not producing rati, it's not leading towards affection towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are wasting your time. And so there's all these nice verses about what is of value. And then there's a very famous verses Prabhupada quotes in the chapter 7 of the Bhagavad Gita, first verse, the verse that Prabhupada gave the most recorded lectures on. He quotes this whole string of verses. I think it's verse 16 through 22. And these are the verses that describe the 9 stages of devotional service. So, and the acronym, that's D is for dignify, I is for inquiries answered, V is for what is valuable. And now we are on increments, the 9 stages of devotional service, how we progress and through the 9 stages. And that's a very, very wonderful and interesting part of the Bhagavatam. But then after that point, it comes to, okay, devotional service is the best. Bhakti is the best. That's the conclusion that's given. Bhakti is the highest form of spiritual, religious engagement. Like I met this young man at the Rath Yatra, and he was saying, my grandmother is a Hare Krishna, my family's all Muslim, and how do all these things, how do they connect? And I said, well, how do you say in Arabic, how do you say to surrender unto God? And he's like, and I said, I believe, from my understanding, the word surrender unto God is Islam. But there are different motivations by which one may surrender unto God. And the lowest motivation is maybe something out of fear, like a child may do what the parents say to do out of just complete fear. Then the child may do something, out of some sense of, I'm going to get an allowance, so out of prospect. Or maybe the child does something just out of this dutiful gratitude. But the highest form of surrender is out of affection, out of genuine affection. And so I was saying that actually this Krishna consciousness movement, it's not necessarily a movement saying this is the highest religion. So we have come to us, we have the highest religion. Actually, what we're doing is just pointing out what is the highest motivation to surrender unto God. The highest motivation is that of genuine affection. And anyone can tap into that, connect to that in all their different traditions. It's just very, very clearly presented in the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So that section, the next section, N, is navigate. Well, if Bhakti is the highest, well, why not Brahma? Isn't he like an amazing, wonderful, honorary, great being? Why not Shiva, as we hear here? Why not Shiva? Isn't he amazing and wonderful? And so this section is called, the N is for navigate. And so that question is brought up. Let me just pull up real quick. I think it's verse number Yes. Satvam rajastam iti prakrite gunaste yukta para purusha eka hi asya date sityadaya harivirinchi eta samya shreyam sitatra kalu satvatanam nirnam shu. So he says that actually Krishna, he is Vishnu. He is the one who is not, he is not only managing the energy of sattva, but he is Shuddha sattva. And it's actually like the verse continues on, partava dharna dunmas. Just like if you're performing a yajna, what's the most important thing? What's the thing that gets you the most benefit? If you have wood, you're getting there. If you have smoke, you're getting a little closer. But what's really benefit is the fire. That's where the magic happens, is when you have that fire yajna done by Jaini Tai yesterday. Which I didn't even see any smoke in this fire. It was so yeah. So you just had fire. You had some fire and some wood. So the mode of ignorance is like the wood. The mode of passion is like the smoke. It's close to the fire, but there's some kind of agitating elements. There's some like burning of the eyes, some burning of the nose. But sattva, this the fire, just the pure fire, that's where the real benefit is, or the magic happens in the yajna. That's where the offering takes place. And so he was they're explaining Beje Muniyotagre, from time immemorial. Beji Re Muniyotagre Bhagavantam Adhokshajam Sattvam Vishudam Shemaya Kalpante Nitanaha. So that since time immemorial, the great sages, they actually approached the Supreme Lord, Bhagavantam Adhokshajam, because he is Vishuddha Sattvam. He is beyond these three modes. And let's see, what's the next one after then? Mumukshava Goda Rupam. Whereas there are many forms of the demigods, both beautiful and very scary. And the devotees, although they have no hostility, they become attracted to that form that is beyond the three modes. And they continue on like that. So this is the navigate section. And it's just showing how you take the most benefit from fire, and when you're performing the yajna, not the smoke, or not just the dry wood. So similarly, you get the most benefit when you approach the Supreme Lord. And see, we find this demon, he had to, not demon, this weapon, this had to take shelter of the Supreme Lord when he was in this troubling situation. So Baladeva Vidyābhūṣaṇa, today is his disappearance day. Question for all of you: who did Prabhupada dedicate the Krishna book to? The brahmachari is there. He's ready. Tell us. French brahmacharis, Canadian brahmacharis. Come on. Tell us. Who is Krishna book dedicated to? His father, Gaur Mohan Dey. I dedicate this to my father, Gaur Mohan Dey. And who did, and we might not know, who did Prabhupada dedicate Srimad Bhagavatam to? I found 6 dedications. Who did he dedicate Srimad Bhagavatam to? Yes.
Is it the appearance or what, on the day of his to his spiritual master he dedicated?
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Who did he dedicate Nectar Devotion to? Nectar Devotion? Nana Sastra Vichara Naika Nipuno. He dedicated to the 6 Goswamis. Prabhupada dedicated the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He said, to my friends and devotees who like to read my books and who kindly asked me to translate Chaitanya Charitamrita. He dedicated teachings of Lord Chaitanya to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He said, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who presented the life and teachings of Lord Chaitanya on the year of my birth, 1896. And who did Prabhupada dedicate the Bhagavad Gita as it is to? Baladeva Vidyābhūṣaṇa, yes. He said, who kindly presented wonderfully the Govinda Bhashya commentary in Vedanta Sutra. So what is this? So this all starts with Govinda. We have Rupa Goswami, and Rupa Goswami and Sanat Goswami were studying the Sastra, and they found out that actually there are there's 6 deities that were in Vrindavan, or maybe I'm not sure if they're all were in Vrindavan, but they were established by Krishna's grandson, Maharaj Rajnava, and these are ancient deities that were from 5,000 years ago, and they understood that these deities, some of them were already discovered, but Govindaji was not discovered. So Rupa Goswami was praying and praying and praying to connect to Govindaji. As we may know, there are 3 main deities. It's actually, if you take darshan of Radharaman, it says you're taking darshan of these 3 main deities, and these 3 main deities actually represent the 3 kind of levels or 3 different aspects of devotional service. You have what is called Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. Sambandha, you could kind of say that oversimplification is like the hypothesis. Abhideya, this could be oversimplification, is like the experiment, and Prayojana is the result, the goal. Another way you could say it is like the map, the journey, and the destination. The interesting thing about Krishna consciousness, though, is that you get, even with a little bit of Sambandha, you get a taste of the goal, as they say, or even a little bit of the practice of Abhideya, the practice, you get a taste of the goal. It's kind of like you open up the map and you take a step, and say your map is like, okay, I'm sitting in the Bhakti Center, but I want to be Miami Beach. I don't know, I just wanting to be in swim in those waters. So you open up the map, you take one step, and then you feel your feet in the water already. So similarly, when you take Krishna consciousness, it's not the means are and the goal are the same. You get actually experience of Krishna's prema, this love for Krishna. Even in the very beginning, you get this connection. So the deity of Sanatan Goswami, Madan Mohan, we heard that story where the deity said, "I want a little bit of salt." We all heard that story. He had him in a very simple temple, and then eventually he was able to build a beautiful temple, Madan Mohan temple. That's the deity of Sambandha. And Jainitai, he chanted these verses yesterday. We had the deity of Abhideya, Jayatam Surato Pangor, Angmamander Kater Gati, Matsarvasa Padam Bojo, Radha Madana Mohano, Divyad Vindaranya Kalpa Drumadaha, Shrimad Ratnagara Simasanasto, Shrimad Radha Govinda Devo, Pristalibi, Sevamano Smarami. And so this is the deity of Abhideya, the deity of spiritual practice. Madana Mohan is the deity that gives you, is kind of your fundamental spiritual kind of that hypothesis, that the building block, the map, so you understand the situation. Then you have the deity who represents the spiritual activities, the experiment, the journey, and then you have the deity who's the goal, Gopinath. I forget what the Sanskrit one for the 3rd verse. So he was meditating on the Gopal Gayatri, and he was chanting just, I want to find Govinda. And somebody came up to him and said, there is a cow that goes on top of this hill, and it drips milk every single day, and it's been happening for a long time. And so he went there to go find. And in Braj Bhasa, Vinda means meditating, and he was meditating on the Gopal mantra at this time. And so that gave him the indication that this is Govinda, because he was meditating on the Gopal mantra. And then there he saw the cow, and in Sanskrit, go is cow, and Vinda means indicated. One in Brajbhasa, it means meditated, and in Sanskrit means indicated. So he who is indicated by the cow. So the cow was there dripping milk And it was understood that he was dripping milk for many years. This was happening. And we're listening to the Glories of Govindaji. There's a 12-part series by Indraduma Swami you can find on YouTube. And he went to the Vrindavan Institute, Research Institute, where they have 32,000 Sastric manuscripts. And he said he found over 3 manuscripts that 3 Sastric references that say that they digged 5 stories down. Pancha Patala Gold something, that 5 stories down. Jainitai brought the question, is like, how is it? How did he end up there? I don't have an answer for that. But 5 stories down, they dug, just like if you're on the Brahmacharya ashram in the Brooklyn Temple and you go 5 stories down, who do you find? Govindaji, Radha Govinda. So it wasn't just like a few feet that they came and found the top knot. It was 5 stories down. And the deity was discovered, and where was he? He was worshipped in Vrindavan. But as we know, first you had Emperor Akbar. I think before Akbar, there was Man Singh. I think it was before Akbar. I can't remember. I have it in my notes somewhere. But he was very kind to the devotees, and there was sandstone that was donated, beautiful sandstone. Emperor Akbar was donated by Emperor Akbar to his friend Man Singh. And so he also gave 70 acres of land for to care of the deities. And so, but 80 years later, he had his evil grandson. Who's that? What's his name?
Aurangzeb.
Aurangzeb. Yeah. He's very, very brutal military leader. He did take over lots of India. He was very successful in his conquests, and he was also very brutal. And they would smash deities and smash temples and do all kinds of atrocities. Now, of course, if you go to Wikipedia, they kind of soften it up. They don't tell you all the stuff that most people in India actually already know, but it was quite brutal. And so the deities moved to Radhakund. They were there for some time. All these deities at Vrindavan, everybody fled except for Radharaman. You can just hide him under a pillow. He's very small. And there was one deity, I forget his name, but he's in Kamyavan. I forget his name, but he was also stayed in Vrindavan. But everybody else, they all went to different places. So he was in Radhakund. And then he went to a place near Jaipur. There was not in Jaipur, there was a king there, and he said, my land is, if you just cross a little bit over this border, I will take care of Govindaji. He will be protected. And so he was there for some other 32 years or so. And then there then came into what was the king's name? I have all these. Let's see. King. What's his name? John. Sorry. Born. Okay. Hopefully it will come up. It would be nice to have his name. Vrinda Devi Deity at Kamyavan. That was the other deity that stayed in Vrindavan. Everybody else were gone. 31 years. And then, okay. Jai Singh. Jai Singh. He became a king at age 11. His father died when he was young, and he inherited this kingdom, I think 10 or 11 years old. But when he was 7, he went to Vrindavan, and he became very, very attached to Gaudiya Bhakti, this Vrindavan style of bhakti. He became very, very attached to that, Radha and Krishna. And so when he became king, there was a beautiful garden, and he established a temple there, still there today. Very, very famous, important temple, Govindaji temple. And he began the worship of Radha and Krishna there. But at that time, this is some time after Rupa Goswami. This is, like we said, the grandson of Akbar. This is some time that has passed. This is in the 1700s. or the 1800s, years early 1700, 18th century, which is 1700s, and he was in a neighborhood of what is called Ramanandis. Ramanandis are the North Indian branch of the Ramanuja Sampradaya. This is there was a saint from the Ramanuja Sampradaya who went and preached in North India. His name was Ramananda, and he had several disciples. And everybody in Jaipur, and there was even a very big holy place that they established. A king established, just some 10 kilometers from Jaipur. He wanted to become a disciple in the lineage of the Ramanandis, and they said, yes, if you establish an ashram for us, we will be established here. So all the pujaris, the whole neighborhood was all Ramanandis, and Ramanandis were not very happy that Radha and Krishna were worshipped on the altar, because the Ramanandis are coming from this South Indian background where, no, this doesn't seem very right. Okay, Lakshmi and Narayan, but why Radha and Krishna? They're not married. And the Gaudiyas, what is their lineage? Who are they? It says in the Vedas that they're in Kali Yuga. There are four lineages, but what is their lineage? Are they? It doesn't exactly seem like they're saying the same thing as the Madhva line. And why they're focusing so much on Narayan? Why Krishna? Why do they focus on Narayan? And so they press the king, and they challenge the king. The king himself was a scholar, but he wrote all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas and said, this needs to be resolved. There's this tension that is there, and the Ramanandis don't feel that the Gaudiyas should be worshipping Govindaji. It should be the Ramanandis that worship Govindaji. They should take over the service, and Radha can be worshipped in her own room because she is worshipable, but not them together because they're not married. And so the message went to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. We heard him mentioned in the purport today. And then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he spoke to his dear disciple, Baladeva Vidyābhūṣaṇa. So Baladeva Vidyābhūṣaṇa, he was, there's not too much known about him, but there is still quite a bit if that can be dug out. There's a great lecture by Amarendra Prabhu, and then also by Indradumna Swami. And then there's another short video. If you just type Baladeva Vidyābhūṣaṇa online, and you'll find quite a bit of information. So he was born in a mercantile family, but he was not finding great satisfaction until he started studying Sastra. And his father, seeing that this kid is so intelligent, so deep, he studied Nyaya, he studied Nataka, like the drama and dance. He studied Jyotish, astrology. What else? Lots of stuff. Jyotish, Nataka, Nyaya, logic. But still he wasn't satisfied. And it wasn't until he left Orissa to Mysore and he met a disciple in the lineage of Madhvacharya. He met, and in that association with the disciples in the line of Madhvacharya, he was feeling great satisfaction. It's like, okay, this is something that is nourishing, deep. And he became a sannyas. He got initiated, and then he also got sannyas initiation. And it's not known what his name was before that time, but he's been known ever since as Baladeva Vidyābhūṣaṇa. So Abhushanam is, a nice jewelry, Abhushanam, nice decoration. And Vidya means knowledge. He's decorated with knowledge, spiritual knowledge. And his spiritual knowledge is Baladeva, it's spiritually strong. And so he has all these decorations. Sometimes, these things kind of stand out. Like if somebody's name is like, there are many different names in Sanskrit, like always happy, and the person's actually grumpy. And it's like, it doesn't really fit. But Baladeva Vidyābhūṣaṇa, he's fully like an example of his name given. And so then he would go to different debates, and he would speak on behalf of the Tattvavadis. Just like Prabhupada had a debate with I think it was what is the devotee he was in Australia? Madhudvisha. Prabhupada, they're on a plane, and Prabhupada said, let's have a debate. You be the Mayavadi, and I'll be the devotee. And the devotee was like, okay, how can I don't, Prabhupada, this is a little unfair. He's going to, defeat me. So they had a debate. Prabhupada defeated him. And then he said, Prabhupada, he was thinking, well, I know your books. I don't know all the Mayavadi stuff. And so Prabhupada said, okay, I'll be the Mayavadi and you be the devotee, and let's have a debate. And so he presented all the Gaudiya arguments, and Prabhupada defeated him with Mayavadi philosophy. And so Prabhupada encouraged his devotees to become very thoughtful and intelligent. And so while he was traveling, he met a disciple in the line of Madhavendra Puri, Lord Chaitanya's line. He met, I think it was Radha Damodar Goswami. Yes. And he was very impressed by his scholasticism, his clear, concise information, and overwhelmingly devotional, saturated understanding. And so he asked Radha Damodar Goswami, can I take initiation? Can I become your disciple? And he said, no. You are from a bona fide lineage. I don't want to disrespect your lineage. But I can become your teacher, but I will not reinitiate you because that would be an insult. And so they had a nice ceremony where Baladeva Vidyābhūṣaṇa was declared as a Vaishnava, a Gaudiya Vaishnava. And then he studied under also another devotee named Pitambar Das, was a Rasa Acharya. So they studied under these two, and then he was sent to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur to study under him. And so now we're back where Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is very old, and he says, he's going back to this part where the king is saying, we need this to be clarified. The Tathavatis, the Ramanandis are saying these Gaudiyas don't have a true lineage, and we're who can come and address this issue. And so Baladeva Vidyābhūṣaṇa was requested to, and so he went to Jaipur. And although they don't know who he is. He was a sannyasi, so the kings are very kind to the sannyasis. And he said, I want to speak to the king. The Ramanandi's like, no, you can't speak to the king alone. I don't want you to brainwash him. Let's all speak together. And so he started to speak, and he presented that actually we're coming from Lord Chaitanya's line directly. And we're from Madhvacharya, but we're coming from Lord Chaitanya, and a lineage just means a lineage that's connected to Krishna. So if it's connected to Krishna, it's bona fide. Isn't that's all you need to be connected to Krishna? And they're like, no, we're not satisfied with that answer. You don't have a commentary in Vedanta Sutra. Now, I don't know if you all know that a lineage is not taken seriously if it doesn't have a bhasya, doesn't have a thesis, a PhD thesis on Vedanta. That's how you show yourself as an authentic lineage, is that you have this thesis that can be judged and seen. Is this valid? Does this stand up to critique? And Baladeva Vidyābhūṣaṇa said, well, actually the Bhagavatam is the commentary on Vedanta. Who wrote Vedanta? Jeffrey Ackler knows. Who's the author of Vedanta? Vedyābhūṣaṇa. Yeah, Vedyābhūṣaṇa. So, and who wrote the Bhagavatam? Vedyābhūṣaṇa. So who better to explain their own book than the author himself? And actually, there's 550 verses in the Vedanta Sutra, and every one of those verses has a corresponding 1 or 2 or 3 verses in the Bhagavatam. And the Bhagavatam is even written in a certain way, like Jamat Asya Yata, first line. It's kind of bidding towards, it's like referring to Vedanta. Vedanta is sutra means like something very concise, very, very clear, and very, very profound. And Vedanta means the end of knowledge. So when you have a type of spiritual thesis that's very, very clear and concise and very, very profound, that's called Vedanta. So we put it together. And Vyasa, explained it. The sutra means it's a literature that's not meant to be, you can't read it, you have to understand it through the element of a commentary. It's like kind of like an index. It's like something you meditate on, but it only can be opened up with a commentary. It can't just be understood on its own. And they said, well, Bhagavatam's for everybody. Where's your sutra? Where is your commentary? Bhagavatam it's there for everybody. You could say Bhagavatam is the commentary. And he said, okay, give me some time, I'll go get it. And they said, well, how much time? Where are you going to get it? He said, well, give me like 18 days. I'll go get it. And he said, well, where are you going to go? He said, well, I have to write it. And they're like, wait a minute. This is a PhD thesis paper. You can't write it in 18 days. This is, this thing will take years. These are 550 verses, and every single thing is going to be torn apart and critiqued. He said, yes, well, just give me 18 days. And so he went and prayed to the Govinda temple, and he was in great anxiety. And as he prayed, the garland of Govinda fell down, and the pujari came to him and said, whatever your desire is, Govindaji is here to support your desire. And that's why this garland has fallen. And so that night he had a dream, and Govindaji told him, all you have to do is transcribe. I will dictate everything, and no one will be able to, it will be perfect. No one will be able to challenge it. And so he transcribed, he wrote down what was given to him by Govindaji, this Vidyābhūṣaṇa. That's why he didn't call it Baladeva Bhashya, he called it Govinda Bhashya, because it's actually presented by the Lord himself, Govindaji. He brought it back to the king and the Ramanandis. They were amazed by this work. They asked, can we become your disciple? We are very moved by this. And like the same way he was asked to become a disciple and he was refused, he also refused them. He said, no, Ramanujacharya is a wonderful acharya. Actually, he is the preeminent in Dasya Bhav and showing this real mood of service. I don't want to disrespect you at all. So they all became followers of Baladeva Vidyābhūṣaṇa, but they did not become disciples as his request. And they gave him the certificate of victory that brought it back to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who very kindly blessed Baladeva Vidyābhūṣaṇa. And he in his heart he had this name for the deities, Radha Vijay Govinda, because he is the one who won the debate. And so Baladeva Vidyābhūṣaṇa, in his commentary, he addressed, or in his literature, he addressed some of these objections. What were the objections? Well, actually, he established how we're coming from the Madhva line, and he established that. He also established, and the authority through Vedanta, the commentary. He also established that Radha and Krishna worship is perfectly bona fide, and it's actually the penultimate form of worship. Actually, like the queens of Dwarka, how much of their heart is for Krishna? How many children do they have? 10 sons, 1 daughter. So that means 1/12 of their heart has to be for Krishna, because they have to care for their children. They have like some division of their heart towards the care of their divine children. But the gopis is 100%. All their attention and love is 100% on Krishna. And then he also established that actually Narayan is within Krishna. They're all within Krishna. So if you're worshiping Krishna, you're actually worshiping all the forms of the Lord. There is no lack in this. If you're, You're honoring the king in his own house as a friend. You're still honoring the king. No, the king is not a separate personality. This question is brought up like Nrsimhadev, when Hiranyakashipu was killed by Nrsimhadev. Hiranyakashipu did not achieve liberation. And so the question is brought up by Rupa Goswami and Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Why didn't he get liberation? Isn't the same person? Isn't it the same being? He said, yes, but it's only in the form of Krishna that he reveals the full aspect of himself. He's holding back. It's actually Krishna has a special power where he insinuates himself into your heart with a very specific element of immense charm that you can't feel passively about him. You either hate him or love him. You just can't feel like, he didn't feel that way with Nrsimhadev. He just felt like this is a powerful being. He didn't feel that same way that in his next life, why Ravana and against Ram. But he was obsessed as Shishupal with Krishna. You ask him, Shishupal, what's the weather like today, Shishupal? He would say, I hate Krishna. He was obsessed with Krishna. It was a constant meditation, like Kamsa, Kalia, when he came out of the water and he was so angry, Krishna came into his private quarters, making all this noise, and Kalia came out and he was so angry and he was like, damn, he's beautiful. His first words out of his mouth, you can find it in the Bhagavatam. He's actually feeling like whoa. He was still angry. He wanted to fight Krishna, but he was like, Krishna has this particular form of charm. So he addressed all these issues, and therefore the Govindaji is worshipped there, and the Gaudiyas had respect of the scholastic community. Sorry for not sharing too much time, but there was a lot of stuff to cover. We also didn't cover Ganga Puja, which is today. We know that the Bhagirata brought down the Ganga to benedict his descendants. It was something that his father tried to do. He wasn't able to do, but he was able to do. And then this is the appearance day of Ganga Mata Goswamini, which I think I got mixed up with. I was just reading up, and I know Pishima Goswamini. I think her name is also Ganga Mata Goswamini, but I think they're two different personalities because the story of Pishima that I know is of a different time frame. But so we'll stop here. If there's some questions, comments, reflections, or darshans, maybe we can have like an afterglow.